Alright, quick on-chain metrics update for Bitcoin. In this episode, I really just want to focus on the volume in the market currently for Bitcoin. I'm also going to be mainly looking at the Bitcoin network value to transactions ratio, also known as the NVT. This is simply calculated by getting the Bitcoin price and dividing it by the Bitcoin trading volume. And subsequently, we'll also be looking at stock market liquidity and volume conditions for Bitcoin. So starting off with the NVT ratio, basically, the NVT trades opposingly to the Bitcoin price action. If you want to read more about this, you can check out the right side of my screen, what I'm highlighting here. But basically, when you see a high network value to transaction ratio, it's often a sign that Bitcoin price is getting ready to top out, or it's going to break to the downside very soon. So you can see previous times where this has spiked, I really see three major spikes over in this chart. So you can see one spike over here, one spike over here, and one major spike over here. Now, you can also take this big spike into consideration. However, this isn't as big as this one, or this one up here. And also, when you are looking at this spike in the NVT, you did also have the March 2020 capitulation soon ensuing, which was a black swan event, so I wouldn't really want to take this one into consideration anyway. So we've got these three major spikes in the price action. So once again, over here you can see the NVT ratio spiked about 33, and Bitcoin, once again, this is a lagging indicator. You can see Bitcoin's price topped out in 2013 over here. And, it's breaking down into a bear market, And, we had a rally that was led or was subsequently followed up by a spike in the NVT. And after this spike in the NVT happened, we, of course, broke down and finally made the 2015 bear market lows before spiking back up to the upside, making new highs. After then, once again, you can see price action actually topped out before the NVT did. This is very interesting. A lot of the times you can see the NVT bottoms near the top and then it spikes up, and this is indicative that a final capitulation is happening. So once again, over here you can see price action topped out in 2017. The NVT bottomed temporarily, or at least a local bottom, and then we proceeded to spike up in the NVT as price broke down to the downside. And you can see right here, right on the apex of the spike on this NVT ratio, you can see price capitulated and broke down, and as the NVT came back down and reset, that was basically marking where the Bitcoin bear market lows were in 2018. Lots of volume came in, lots of liquidity came in, and with this, NVT overextended, and as we can see over here, a high NVT ratio suggests that Bitcoin is overvalued. And then, once again, like I said, you can see this spike over here, you can take this into consideration. I'm personally not, but I will show you this data point anyway. Back in 2019, late November time in 2019, and then also leading up to the March 2020 capitulation, which we all know what this was. It decimated the stock market, it decimated the crypto markets, and it made for a very, very bullish US dollar. But with this, the spike in the NVT happened, and as it came back down, the price of basically all markets capitulated. And once again, the reason why I'm really not taking this data point into consideration, even though the NVT spiked and we broke down to the downside, which would be in agreement with the rest of my data points, this was a black swan event, so I'm not going to take this into consideration. But after then, you can see one spike for the NVT marked the first top in Bitcoin before we broke down and double topped. And then the second spike up here in the NVT happened around about 49,000. So, we've mentioned before that this is a lagging indicator, but sometimes this can be a precursor in terms of the market. So once again, the NVT spiked, and this more or less spiked the top, not the exact top, 49,000 instead of 69,000. But with this, once the NVT spiked and started capitulating back down to the downside, this was when the price action also soon followed. So right now, what I really want to talk about is the fact that the NVT ratio is spiking up to all-time highs, all the way up to 49.68. You can see the previous top over here was 42. You can see the previous top over here was like 32. You can see the top over here was round about 33. But right now, we're pushing up to new highs, almost hitting 50 on the NVT ratio. And once again, when the network value to transaction ratio takes a spike to the upside, the price action always tends to go in the opposite direction. So this chart over here is indicative that the Bitcoin price action is overextended right now. We've also talked about on this channel many times looking at stock market liquidity, looking at the book debt for the S&P 500. This is super overextended right now. In fact, it's very close to coming up to the previous highs that we established round about November 30th, which is when we actually topped out and broke down to new lows. We are still making lower lows and lower highs in the S&P 500, but right now the S&P 500 liquidity conditions are almost coming back up for a triple top, which is extremely bearish. This means that, looking at this chart for Bitcoin, the NVT, meaning Bitcoin specifically, is overextended in terms of volume and network transaction ratios. When we're looking at the S&P 500, the S&P 500 is overextended in terms of liquidity. And when we come over to the Bitcoin chart on the daily time frame, checking out the Bitcoin Tether US Binance pair, you can see basically the MFI, the money flow index, looking at the relative strength in the market, also taking into consideration volume, spiked at around about 96 and it's starting to turn down. Now, price action really hasn't started to move back down to the downside much, but we do know that, price action is very overextended, liquidity is overextended, and we have had tons of volume come into this most recent rally. So there's a lot of signs that we have been looking at over on the channel indicative that Bitcoin is currently overextended. So yeah, like I said, just wanted to get a quick on-chain metrics update out focused on liquidity. A little bit later on, I'm going to get a extensive TA update out for Bitcoin. But for today, that's the on-chain metrics update. I will look to get a few more updates out over on Saturday and Sunday before this important weekly candle body close comes into fruition for Bitcoin. But for today, my friends, that's all I've got. If you enjoy the content, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Share the videos with your friends, and if you do want more of my posts, charts, on-chain metrics, updates, memes, all of that good stuff, more about my personal life, be sure to follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. For today, that's all I've got. It's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.